We've been recording, so we this has kind of been our introduction, and we'll kind of jump in. It's five quick questions, and for audience members that or viewers that are watching right now, this is the Diabetes Tour Guide. My name is Andy. I'm one of our providers at Performance Medicine and Integrative Health Clinic. I've lived with type 1 diabetes for a really long time, about 19 years. My sister's lived with type 1 for going on 27 years. So it's been a big part of the Rogers family and very near and dear to us. And two, we have a really special guest here on StreamYard or on Zoom. I think we're on StreamYard. This is Linds Edwards. He's a professional actor based out of Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm sure Mom, our video editor, is going to include some of our prelude to this so people will get an idea of the feel for you. But give us a quick introduction, and then we'll kind of get into the diabetes stuff. Just tell us a little bit about yourself if you had to put yourself in a little like 1 to 2 minute
Man.
spiel. You
All
already
right.
kind of gave it two in the end since we've been getting to talk for the past 15 minutes, but if you had to consolidate it.
All right. I'm Linds Edwards. I love making movies. Um, I thrive on encouragement, and I am built to encourage others. I think life is only about fun. That's it.
I
That's me
love it.
in a
That's
nutshell.
okay. Too. Have you ever listened to Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey?
No.
He's big on follow your bliss. That's
Yeah.
his like if you follow your bliss within your life and this adventure and this journey that you have, you'll never know a day of work. I think that's great.
I subscribed to that a long time ago.
Yeah, you're
I got in trouble.
obviously
I got in
living it.
trouble with people, man. I got people were always like, "What do you think life's just about fun?" I was like, "Absolutely." I don't think
Oh
there's
my
any other point. Um,
You should definitely meet my sister. She has the most fun out of all the Rogers. So
awesome.
y'all are living your best lives if
I
we
mean,
can't
dude,
have fun together.
I play pretend for a living, like a 5-year-old, and
Yes.
you know, I think that says a lot.
I think that's why we had talked earlier. If you haven't, if we include that part about healthy aging and anti-aging, that keeps you young. That's why you have no wrinkles on your face. If you're always playing the 5-year-old, you're never going to age. It's
No,
great.
I mean,
That's
100%.
good. That's good. That's part of preventative care. That's part of preventative
Yeah,
care. So when
yeah.
your immune system is at its strongest when you're young. This is great.
When you do what makes you happy, that's it.
Yes.
Like a fountain of youth.
Yes. So we're going to jump right in. So during our interview process on the diabetes tour guide, we do a lot of teaching on the nuances of diabetes, both type 1, type 2, type 1.5, gestational diabetes. We do sometimes just like product talk, especially when you've lived with diabetes for a long time, you kind of accumulate different pumps, different meters, different CGMs, and how diabetes has changed. For the interview process, though, I wanted to make it real for viewers and audience members to kind of get a feel of what it's really like to live with diabetes from different viewpoints. And so I thought it'd be fun to ask the same five questions to tons of different people at different stages in diabetes and backgrounds to see how the answers differ. So are you ready? You want to jump in? You want to go? We're going to have
Okay.
fun with this
So
one. This
so
is by
these aren't
far
like
going to be fun.
these aren't like what do they call them? Hot seat questions, where it's like question number one.
No,
Okay.
no. This is just more. No, 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 no. This is more of a. Let's get a. I'm way big into feeling and empathy in the room with people, so it's more of like a diabetes. Diabetes is 24/7, and it's a feeling. I mean, it's not just let's get A1C below 7% and everything's hunky dory. It's every minute of every day. So the first question is basic. When were you diagnosed with diabetes, with type 1 diabetes, and kind of what was that day like for you?
Oh, you're gonna love this. I was 2 years old. Uh,
2?
1.5 or 2. I can't remember if my dad said I was 18 months or 22 months. Um, but it was on April 1st, April Fool's Day. Um,
No way.
yeah, and my mom thought that I had the flu. And I lived in Florida, in Tampa, Florida. Go Bucks.
Yeah.
And my mom thought that I had the flu, and she said that I had gone a few days, and by like the third day, as a 2-year old, I didn't cry anymore. I just moaned. And she was like, it was really odd that and she said that my soft baby skin didn't feel like baby skin, but it felt like leather. And she thought that I had the flu, and she had a doctor's appointment later that afternoon or something like that. And my nana was like, "I'm going to take him right now to his pediatrician, because this isn't like a normal thing." And when they described to him on the phone, he already knew and had an ambulance there. As soon as they got there, he was like, "I can't do anything for him." They put me in an ambulance, took me straight to the hospital, whatever. I can't remember the hospital in Tampa, but anyway. And when I got there, the doctor basically was like, "Look, ma'am, he's type 1 diabetic in and out, and he's 30 minutes. He should be dead 30 minutes ago, and he could die in 30 minutes. Like it's right there on the edge of this thing." And my mom, when she tells the story, she was like, "I was crying. She was like, I was crying so much, and I had a." She was like, and I was wiping all the snot off my face. She said she had a booger on her nose, like on top of it in the elevator, and that people kept coming in, and she said that the whole time, because it was April 1st, she kept waiting for someone to tell her it was a joke, and that it
Oh,
never, it never was. And then I've had diabetes for 37 years, type 1.
wow.
Aging myself. There you go.
No, I was about to say, I was gonna tell the audience, you've only had it for 10 years, okay? We're still on our team. No, but you're so far, we haven't had many interviews yet. We've probably had 3 or 4. You're the youngest, so that's the youngest diagnosis we've had so far. We've had some diagnoses in people's 50s, and then with pregnancy, and then with teens, and then with kind of the around 7 to 8. So this is a great learning tool for our audience members and viewers. It can be diagnosed really at any age. I had a great endocrinologist when I lived in LA, Dr. Ann Peters, and it can be diagnosed with any gender, any age, any race, at any time, really. So 1.5, 2 years. eh, Do you remember? Do you have a memory of that, or is that all through anecdote? No
That's
memory.
all through stories.
Okay, wow.
I do feel like there is a moment around the time that I remember a big room that had like toys in it, but the lights weren't on, and that could just be a dream I had. But um, I remember, what do I remember? I don't remember anything else as far as food. I only know of what they gave me as a child to eat, and I knew that I couldn't have sugar all the time. My folks were very rock and roll though. Like
Yeah.
my folks were very rock and roll. Like they would let me drink Kool-Aid. They would let me have a donut. They would let me have like popsicles, but they'd be like, "All right, now you got to go outside and play." And I'd be like, "All right." So I would eat a popsicle and then I'd go play for 2 hours outside, ride my bike, whatever. Um, I also played baseball pretty competitively in Florida, so I was
Oh.
always burning off high blood sugars.
Which I think is really important. That totally helps. It's an old school way of saying, how do we get glucose out of the artery into the muscle? And that's by being active.
Yeah,
Um,
and
it,
it's really weird because I don't think a lot of people understand even now. Like, if I do any kind of, I used to play full court basketball every Mondays a couple years ago, um, and I would drop when I came home if I didn't. It's so weird to try to describe that or explain that to somebody, even on like movie sets. Like I was used to be so shy about telling medics or whoever that I was diabetic because I didn't want anybody to worry about me because I've spent my whole life people worried about me every class, every year of school from kindergarten, preschool, all the way to through high school. People were like, "Is your blood sugar okay? Are you all right? And, you're acting weird." And I'm like, "No, I'm fine. I'm just acting weird." You know. um,
yeah, i-
so
it's
so
it's
it
such a fine balance between I need there to be an element of concern should something emergent happen, but also I don't need you to worry about me every second. I can walk.
and
That's so interesting.
and see, so now I'm wide out front with it, and like this last movie I did, this big action movie in New Orleans. I went low a couple times, and I told him right out. I was like, "Look, can somebody go grab me some of the applesauce go packets? Can I? Will somebody grab me a root beer or something?" And and I think it sucks because I know that everyone else has always been willing to be like, whatever you need, get better, and I know as a type 1 diabetic, and I know you know this, I know that I'm always like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready, even if I'm not. Um, because I don't want people to wait on me. I've spent majority of my life, I've hated checking my blood. I've hated doing all these things because I'm like, yeah, it only takes 5 seconds. So, I mean, in my life, it's gone from a minute and a half to 45 seconds to 30 seconds to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And so I've always been like, gosh, it just takes time. Sorry, I need to take insulin. Sorry, I need to take 5 minutes before I do this thing or whatever. I need 10 minutes, to get my brain back to. And even then my body, and I say this all the time. I know I'm jumping around because this is my
This
life
is, yeah.
and it's nuts, but like I talked to my dad about this off and on for my whole life. Really, is that I was like, no type 1 diabetic is ever we're handicapped no matter what. Like you could say whatever mentally, you can say whatever. I know that when I play golf, I could be having a great golf game, and by hole 12, my blood sugar drops, and all of a sudden I know it. And you think of the what do they call it, the rate of play, and just keep going, and you don't want
Yeah.
to hold anybody up and all this. And so I've sat there angry because I'm like, I'm beating everybody right now on these two cards, and now all of a sudden I'm hindered because of something I can't help. And I just would take some glucose tablets, and I'd get right back in there and swing and whatever, and it didn't end up probably garbage or whatever. But it's this thing, like even in baseball, even in everything I've ever done, skateboarding, whatever, athletic wise, I never was able to hit like a full potential because it's impossible. No matter what, even on stage and doing theater or what have you, all of a sudden you're in the middle of a scene and your blood sugar drops out. People are like, "Oh, it's so bad. What was he thinking?" Da, 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 da. He's like, "Well, he wasn't. He's diabetic." Oh, it's like it's every day is that way. And I think that's really funny because, yeah, it's
Do
nuts.
you, is the industry receptive to you of like, hey, we understand that's great. We're gonna have stuff there, or like, are they
Oh
like
yeah.
hesitant with you at all? Is that something?
No, and I think when I first, like, one of these TV shows I did, like one of the first ones, it was a big one. It had Sam Shepard, it had Joey Lauren Adams, Carrie Ewells. I mean, it was packed full of people, and I was a guest star on that show. It never went, but that was the one that I was afraid because it was so big. Like I'd done, let's see, I did Get Low, the Bill Murray Robert Duvall movie. I did Walking Dead, and then I did that. I think, or maybe it's vice versa. But that one I was scared to death to tell people because I was afraid. Oh, he's diabetic. That's a liability. We don't want this. And you're 20 years old. You don't know better.
Right.
But no, everywhere I've ever been, um, especially like movie sets are built to make sure that everyone is comfortable. Everyone is the best they can be. Whatever. So like it's always been easy. It's always been great as far as going to work.
It's encouraging. That's very encouraging because when you see that, you want to know the behind the scenes they take care of their people, and two, it's something that especially we kind of talked about identity series. It's like you want to have diabetes as an identifier, not an identity. It's like
Right.
even teaching kids, not saying I'm diabetic. It's like I have diabetes. It's something I deal with, but it's not who I am as a person.
Right.
And so I'm glad the industry's with you. Second question, you ready? That's a great
Wow,
intro.
yeah, it's probably they're all gonna be like this. I'm a toddler.
Hell yeah! Oh, bring it on, baby. I love this. This is gonna be good for people. And this is a great question too because of how long you've had diabetes. How has diabetes changed since your diagnosis? For you personally, even if it's devices, access, the way you talk about it, how people receive you with it.
Wow. How has it changed? I started off with these weird syringe guns. Um, I've got them still. I think my mom still got them. But you'd put like a regular syringe in this black thing that you pulled the back on, and you press the button, and it just went. It was huge. It was like the same way that you do like the Dexcoms or the
Yeah,
Libres,
yeah.
but it was for a syringe, like just a straight out of the bag syringe full of whatever insulin that you needed,
What
uh,
was the purpose? To
just
make
to
it
give you a
easier?
shot pretty quick without thinking about it, without like having to actually do it by hand. Had a few of those.
Almost like an auto
Yeah,
injector
yeah.
that was
But it was
what
also like shaped like a syringe, which I thought was really funny. Uh, um,
Will you send me a picture of that? If you
if
find
I
one, will
can
you send
if
me
I
a
can
picture?
find it, it's at
Okay.
my mom. It's got to be at my parents' house. But I've seen stuff like that to like. I feel like blood monitors even back then were still size of like a cell phone.
Yeah,
Now they're that hasn't changed much. The timeline has, and I think even the accuracy probably has.
yeah.
Um, I think I had one of the third generation insulin pumps from
Yeah.
the first gen. I think I couldn't tell you when it came out, but I had one for about 7 years, and I just realized that I'm not good with it because I was so active and I moved around a whole lot. And anytime I traveled, I needed a whole separate like uh, unit of
Right.
packing to bring all the stuff with me. I always had trouble with like air in the tubes, batteries
Kinks,
dying, just the whole bit was
bad
really big.
sides. Yeah, it's tough.
And oh, my stomach, dude. Oh, it's I got like tissue damage in
Yeah.
my stomach, but that also comes from when I was younger. Golly, I'm telling you, I could talk your ear off about this.
This
Uh,
is amazing. Keep going.
when I was younger, I I think I was probably about 4 years old. My legs and arms and uh, my butt had all become atrophic. So I the insulin wouldn't accept into my body through my arms, my legs, or my butt. I had to go. This is nuts. My mom said that this was terrifying because of how I reacted to it. But they had me on all fours naked and were taking pictures of the sites on my body because they'd never seen anything like it. Um, and my mom said she was like, it was interesting. She was like, because for a minute there, I think I was like this kind of study because they'd never
Yeah.
seen such a young like body just completely destroyed by insulin or injections. Um, so at that time, around 5, I started taking shots in my stomach, and I did it for years. And so by the time I was in high school, and I said everyone knows this about me too, like on movie sets and whatever, like because they're always like, I'm not overweight at all. I'm healthy, but I've got this funny like little fanny pack like on my belly, and
Yes.
they're always like, "Tuck your stomach in," and I'm like, "I can't." Like, it ain't going anywhere, my man. Like this is and my endocrinologist told me the only way to get rid of it's like surgery to get it just cut out or like, and that's interesting. Not a lot of people know about that stuff. But I have a picture of me when I was 18 at the beach, and I'm just like rail thin, just skinny. But I've got this like stomach lump, at the bottom that just
Oh,
and it's like it was like hard, and I got knots even now. Like I've got little
yeah.
knots in my stomach, and stuff like that. So when you think about that, like how things have changed, I quit doing the insulin pump because I just found it so much easier with the pens, especially traveling.
Yeah.
To be able to throw one in the bag, and I've done a lot of action stuff, especially in the past like few years. And when you got like a pump or whatever, and you got to unplug or even just like take it off, like remove it entirely, and then to put one in later, it's like all that was so difficult.
Y-
I
y-
found a good balance with just being able to count the carbs, take the insulin, and
Yeah.
the Libre thing. I don't have one on now, but the Libre is it to me. Like it's
Yeah.
simple. It's simple. It's quick. Last 2 weeks, and then you're off. But that's how I've always done it.
So for our audience and viewers, just a couple definitions that's helpful to know when you listen to the story. First off, thank you for sharing that. That's terrifying as a kid to be able to like I can't imagine being almost like a test subject. And two, it might be too from the length of time that you've had diabetes, the duration, in addition to being so young when you're building tissue, you're building fat tissue, you're building muscle. With insulin stores fat. It inhibits lipolysis, so it stores fat and causes lipid dystrophy, so redistribution of fat tissue. In addition to giving it by injection, we're introducing scar tissue by injecting ourselves all the time in the same place. That's why they tell you to change the site as much as possible, but over that long of time in such a young, delicate body, it can really. I have different absorptions in my stomach versus my arms, so I'm
Yeah,
technically like CGM up
100%.
here. And then my pumps always go on my belly because if I put it on my arm, it's not going to be the same. If I put my CGM on my belly, I'm like 500 and not 500,
Yeah.
and that's like
Oh,
that doesn't match.
that's so weird. You know,
It's
like,
weird.
and nobody can understand. Nobody can relate to that really, unless you do it, unless you've had it, unless you've
Or
experienced
it's
it.
so frustrating where you're like, "I've just given 400 units," not 400 units, but so much of a bolus of insulin, and it's not moving at all. It's not is it the insulin? Is it the site? And so, but that's an important definition is lipid dystrophy is what Linds is describing, and also too, um, oh gosh, what else? You touched on Libre, a freestyle Libre. There's 1, 2, and 3. That's a CGM. It tests your blood sugar every 5 minutes through an electrode that goes outside the vessel. So
I
it's
love
much
it,
more.
dude. I love it. Like, I
Yeah,
will
freestyle is amazing. I'm a Dexcom kid because it connects to Omnipod, but I love CGMs.
see that Omnipod. Somebody was when I was in New Orleans. Uh, one of the servers at the restaurant that was at our hotel noticed that I was diabetic, and she was as well. And she was like, "Have you heard of these things?" And da da da. I was like, "No," but and the Omnipods, man.
That's where it's, dude. That's
I
where it's.
feel
I
like
love it. I
that's
love
the
it.
next. That could be the next move. Again, I'd have to like schedule it out. Um, but I feel like that to me seems a little bit more like, all right, I can handle this.
It's
Is it
not
weird? Is it weird
too.
to sleep on it? Is it weird? Like if you like, is it
No,
on the front or is it on the side? Like where
you you can put it anywhere. I've put it on my back. I put it on the top of my hip or my butt. I've put it on my really on the side. If you sleep on it, it just feels honestly like a little Chick-fil-A packet. You
I
get
got you.
used to it. And it's about that size. It's not bad at all.
See
It
that
too.
that may be a future that I may travel
I
down.
I I love it. I've known some guys that actually put it on their chest,
Oh,
and they
okay.
get it around the
So
muscle around their
you
chest.
can put it anywhere that you can. Huh.
You can put it anywhere,
All
and
right.
and I like it because it's wireless. But
Yeah.
there is, I think it's important too for viewers and audience members to know, there's not one way to do diabetes. There's 1,000 ways, and you
Yeah.
got to fit it to what your lifestyle is. And it sounds like you're fitting it, and also taking pump breaks is a great thing too. You're 7 years on a pump to take a break from it is. It's almost you. Do you feel? I felt naked without mine for a while when I took
No,
pump
I
breaks. I'm like,
absolutely loved it. I loved it.
you felt free. It's like,
Oh,
oh my god.
that was the thing is that it originally started as like a pump vacation, and
Yeah.
I was like, I guess I moved to the island that I took a vacation on because I never went back.
Have
Uh,
you seen the Wiz? Do you know The Wiz, like,
but
the
with
musical?
Michael Jackson,
Yes, where
yeah, he's on down the road.
they shed their skin and they start
Yeah.
dancing brand new da that's what I feel like whenever you take
Yeah.
off your pump, you're just like, "Oh my god, I'm a new
Oh,
person."
I was so miserable with mine, and
Oh,
again, I'm probably not the right guy to help promote the old school pumps, but this new thing that you're rocking, the Omnipod, I've seen the commercials for it. And I'm like,
it's
okay,
good,
you can
it's
get
good.
this old dinosaur out there to try something new,
No,
Uh,
it's just it's gotta be tailored to you. Diabetes care has to be tailored to the person.
yeah.
Um, okay, next question. What is one thing that annoys you about diabetes, and what's one thing you actually like about it?
Nothing. I don't like anything about it.
You don't like anything about that's a fair answer.
I
That's
don't
a
like
totally
anything
fair
about it.
answer.
I would if I had an enemy that I think was the most evil person in the world, I would wish diabetes on them.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
I hate diabetes, man. I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate it
That's
because I think for me mentally and physically, and I hate limits. I think everyone's given limits all the time for things that they want to do or what they um, and I feel like it's a limit that all diabetics, like there is a certain point that you have to stop. There's a certain point that, and it could be in a whole different between diabetic retinopathy or you know whatever they call it on your feet when your nerves go, or
Yeah.
or even just organs in general. It's like if you don't do this, it's scary. But if you don't do these things, you're gonna go blind. You're gonna die. You're gonna be have amputations, and it's like, and all that comes from diabetes. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, sure, there may be other factors in there thrown in, but because of the autoimmune disease of diabetes, like, dude, I've got, I've got celiac, I got glaucoma, I got, what else? This eye's a little jacked up. Um, Not terrible, like I'm not blind or anything, but there's another one, another something because of diabetes. You know?
There's a neuropathy is what you're describing with your feet. Neuropathy and then nephropathy can be a kidney thing.
Oh yeah, see, I
Kidneys.
I went to a diabetic camp when I was 12, and they didn't give me insulin because of how active I was, and it caused my kidneys to screw up, and I had protein in my urine and all this,
Yeah.
and it was a diabetic camp, man. And so, like,
Oh,
I will say this: to be my age and have diabetes as long as I have, I think I'm doing pretty dang good. Like,
you look fantastic, and those glasses look good on you too. I'm
oh,
telling
thank
you,
you.
you're rocking the glasses look. So I hate that there's glaucoma behind that and some visual disturbances, but you're wearing your glasses fantastic. I
Right,
just gotta
thank
say,
you.
it's a good look.
Dude, celiac was the worst. Celiac was the worst, and I didn't realize it. How did they tell me this? So anyway, there's nothing I love about diabetes. I'll get to that in a second.
That's a totally fair answer.
I don't love
Totally fair.
anything about diabetes. What was the other half of that question?
What annoys you about diabetes?
Yeah, all of it.
All of that.
The,
All of that.
the
It's
food
totally fair.
restrictions, the physical restrictions, the having to explain yourself if you seem like you're a crazy person at the mall in South Carolina. Or if you get arrested because they think you're drunk, but you're actually just high blood sugar and you need insulin. Um,
Has that happened to you?
yeah, yeah. I went to jail one night, um,
You have
and
to tell us that story.
uh,
If you wanna share, you don't have to share details if
oh,
you
I don't
want, but
mind.
I'm telling you, that's something that can happen. It
Well, here's the
changes your breath. You have an acetone breath when your blood sugar's high. You get confused. You get agitated. I mean, it looks like intoxication for some
well
people.
in the EMTs. I told the guy, I was like, look, have the EMTs show up and check my blood sugar. I didn't have a Libre in or nothing like that, but I knew. And I was like a mile from my house, and they brought the EMTs, and I was about 251 or something.
Yeah.
Um, and I get hit hard with high blood sugars. Like I feel, and I don't know if it's because I've actually gotten so much better. My 20s were a train wreck. Like I'm surprised I'm alive.
Yeah.
But like this happened, this happened about 4 or 5 years ago. And I've gotten my body like pretty in tune and pretty tight with my blood sugars and certain things. And so I'll wake up some mornings and I'll feel like complete death, and it's only 220, or 235 or something like that. And
Yeah.
I feel like I've been hit by a train, throat, I'm thirsty, just everything's just like that physical sponge that nobody will understand unless you're type 1 diabetic, but that inside where you're just like nothing can quench this dryness that I'm feeling in my whole body right now. And so like when I checked in, I was 251, and they were like, "Oh, he's fine. He should be able to walk the line." And I was like, "Do what?" I told the EMTs, I was like, "Who are you two as EMTs?" And it could be my age. They could have thought that I was just type 1 or type 2, and that
Right.
whatever, he's just what. And I'm like, "But I'm not." And I said, "I've been told my whole life if I run 250, I'll go blind. Like, come on, gang. Like, I'm not. uh, None of this is." They took me to jail. My wife came down, like, she came down like it was nuts. She came down to bring me insulin, and the officer was like, "Oh man, he's our liability now. Like, you can't give him insulin now. We'll give him insulin in jail."
What?
It was nuts, dude. It was nuts. I got out of it. Like, they got dismissed. But so the annoyances of high blood sugars or low blood sugars, like, I've been in car wrecks because I thought I was dreaming. I thought I was in a dream, but it was actually me living with this extremely low blood sugar, and I got in a car accident. Uh, One of my birthdays, I woke up and I was completely locked, like I've never had like a full blown like I've been close like seizure stuff, but I mean with 37 years under my belt, I've had probably 6 or 7 intense low blood sugars.
Yeah.
But my 23rd birthday, I woke up. I remember I think it was my 23rd birthday. Justin Timberlake's "Sexy Back" was on the TV because I was on the couch, but I was completely like, and my legs, you know, when you lay down, your feet are up. Mine were
Yeah.
locked forward, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
It was the wildest thing. That was on my birthday, and yeah. So those are the annoyances of diabetes.
Those are pretty big. Yeah, those are pretty big. And two important definitions. I think you're just hitting on such really beautiful points and tough. It's hard what you're describing. Definition wise, low blood sugar, we're not getting enough blood that's supplying the tissue, and the body freaks out because it's trying to compensate. So a lot of the times you're not providing glucose. The glucose, the brain survives on glucose. So for viewers, audience, and what we're describing is that brain needs glucose to survive, so it freaks out when there's not enough, and it can be very severe. And the threshold for going low is much tighter than the threshold for going high. So we have from 80 to 0 to go, basically, or 80 to 900 to go if you're going hyperglycemic. And two, with hyperglycemia, if too much sugar is running in the blood, it can cut the vessels. And as you're cutting the vessels, you're not supplying enough nutrients going to the kidneys, going to the eyes, going to the feet. So these are good definitions. I just hate that you had to go through that. That's terrifying.
Hey, it's so weird because nobody can give you a real training book on this. You know what I mean? Like nobody, they can give you all the stuff and give you like, here's how, but again, as long as I've had diabetes, it's like, it's almost like trial and error. Like, oh, well, I'm not going to eat that again and take that much insulin again. Like I've learned pizza's my favorite food. Like I love pizza. Like it
Okay,
sounds,
please tell me it's Big Ed's. Is
I
Big Ed's
can't
not?
the celiac unless they got gluten free.
Oh my God, you're right. You're right. Oh, Big Ed's
And
is the
that's
best.
another
It's amazing.
annoyance. All right, so diabetes and annoyances just could just outline now. Like we're talking, they just what do they call that? What do they call it? Like I can't think of the term, but it's just like a whole spider web that just connects all these
Oh
dots.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but celiac is another just you know byproduct of type 1 diabetes, and it sucks. It
And dude, you're
sucks.
hitting it again. For audiences, viewers, when you have type 1 diabetes, autoimmunity, it makes you susceptible to the other ones. The biggest ones, including Hashimoto's thyroiditis and also celiac. And celiac is a gluten intolerance, and gluten is in a lot of things.
When we
So,
found out that I had celiac, it was my endocrinologist, and she they did my A1C, and they were like, "Well, A1C is fine, but you are deficient in vitamin D, right?" And then I was like, I also looked like a drug addict. You know what I mean? Like I
yeah.
was, I probably weighed 160, and I was 6'6". I'm 6'1", 61. But I looked, what's the word? Gaunt, very just like a skeleton. And I didn't know. I thought that was just how I looked. And when they did all the scope and they were like, dude, yeah, your cilia, you're supposed to look this, yours look like this. That apparently I had all these skin problems. And I found out on a movie because I just broke out in these wild rashes. And I was like, what is going on? Uh, yeah. That when they found out, and then it was like, I changed all my diet, everything to be gluten free and all that. And then I gained like weight, like healthy weight. Like I
Yeah.
looked how I should actually look as opposed to this thing that I was, this waif. And see, but the thing is, I still love. I hate not being able to have certain foods, like oh, because
It's
of
tough.
wheat or what have you. But
Yeah.
that goes back to earlier, man. My folks, they'd always have me a little station in every class that had my blood monitors and some snacks in case I went low, whatever. And I remember like at Christmas parties, Halloween parties, or whatever, teachers would be like, "You can't have that. You're diabetic." And I would sit there with nothing while everybody else ate candy, or whatever, cupcakes, what have you. And I remember I went home and I told my mom, I was like, "Mom," she was like, "How was the Christmas party today?" or what have you. And I was like, "I don't know. I guess it was okay. Everybody else got to have. The teacher said I couldn't because I was diabetic." My mom went down there and she was like, "Look, you do not, you do not tell him he can't have something. Da 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 da. We've got this worked out to where." And so I've lived my whole life not letting diabetes be like a leash or a shackle. I've been the leader of it.
That's great.
But I've also made mistakes and been in some really hairy situations because of it. But my mom, my mom and dad, they told me this not too long ago either. But they always wanted me to feel like a normal kid. They never wanted me to feel like a diabetic or what have you. So, um, yeah, diabetes is all annoyances, every bit of it to me.
You got great parents.
Yeah, they're
That's
rad.
that's that's really great to say. I think there's such a healthy balance between, yeah, we need to be careful and cognizant because we want longevity with an autoimmune illness, but also a kid needs to experience Christmas,
The
you
kid needs to
know?
be a kid, you
A
know?
kid needs to be a kid, and so it's, yeah, it's a tough one. I had a parent ask me, they just had recently had their kid diagnosed with diabetes, he's like 10. It's like, should I take him out of baseball or out of sports until he gets used to it? And I was like, absolutely not. Keep him in. He needs to be involved in everything, and we need to deal with how you just deal with a low blood sugar or high blood sugar within the context, not take them
Mhm.
out of the
And I
context.
think I think that's what we talked about that earlier. I think that's kind of a cool, wild thing is like I would always get because again I played year round baseball for 8 years, 9 years in Florida, and then moved here and still went on high school, whatever. Um, and you just had to do something a little bit different, like you had to eat a
Yeah,
burger before, or you had to eat something,
yeah,
and it's like, does that get annoying? Sure. Um, I think I don't know if you do anything like this, but like when it comes to drinking anything, I
yeah.
drink it fast. Everything. Like
Fast.
I can't have like a drink of anything without just getting rid of it. Like so if you get even water, like I just grab a bottle of water, I drink it all right there and I set it down. And
Interesting.
I think that's just because of years of okay, drink this quick because of low blood sugar.
Sure. Yeah.
And so everything I drink now, like I'll get those like liquid death, sparkling waters or whatever,
Yeah.
and I'll just drink the whole thing in 10 minutes just because my body and mind is so and you just adjust. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing like for me in diabetes is adjusting to every situation,
Yes.
but also not letting it hold you down either or hold you back from like I love camping. I've camped in every desert in the United States except for two out in the middle of nowhere. Like I love adventure. I love end of the world movies because I would not survive because of diabetes, but I think that's why I like the end of the world movies.
I joke about that all the time too. I was like, if I'm in a scary movie, y'all, I'm not gonna laugh.
Yeah, look, if if the economy shuts down and so do the pharmaceuticals, like guys, I'm dead weight. I will do what I can to give you my supplies.
And
like
also too, we will taste very good. Okay, look at us. We'd be
absolutely.
delicious.
Oh my,
Okay,
this is
come
nuts.
on, eat us like a snack. All right.
So with all that said, I've I used to rock climb a lot in my 20s, like out in the middle of whatever, and nothing's diabetes never really held me back. Like
That's
it may
amazing.
have here or there for unknown different reasons, but I never let it or I never tried to. And I always told people too, is like, look, just live. Like
Yes.
I don't like you talked about the identity part of it. Like that's a big thing to me is that I never let it be that on me. Like I was like, yeah, I got diabetes. It sucks. But I can still do that and I'm still gonna do that. I'm gonna do my best to do that.
And
And yes,
it's
I'm
not who
gonna have
you
a piece
are.
of this cake. I'm gonna have a piece of your cake. That's what I'm gonna do.
I
You know,
want to I want to go back to your third grade Christmas party and just eat a piece of cake right in front of her.
I
It's like,
know,
yeah,
right?
try to
Right.
take this. Hey, this actually leads really well into our next question. And we're almost done with our questions. Do you think there will be an actual cure for diabetes? And that's okay. Hey, and this could be yes, this could be no. This is you do not have to be
I feel
anything
like
but
I probably just need to be quiet about this one.
no, no, I think it's
No, no,
healthy
I
for
feel like I
people.
should probably be quiet about this one.
I think it's healthy for people to uh,
My
I've had a lot of different
my
answers to
answer
this.
is very negative. It's very
It's
negative.
okay.
I think there already is one.
Okay. Yeah.
I just think there's a lot of money to be made on our bruised backs, you know? So,
I
that's
think
another
it's
thing. I've
I think
watched
it's so nice for people to know that sometimes too, especially well, and especially me too, I tend to be very flowery and very like glasses half full. It's important to know that there is a grieving process with this disease state that is not all sunshine and rainbows and flowers. And there is a big industry that is involved with diabetes, and a lot of it too. I think there's a lot of people that are in it for good, but there is money to be made off of it.
yeah.
It just interestingly enough, the patent for insulin was sold for $1 by Banting and Best in
Mhm.
1922 or 1923, $1. And insulin's not $1 today, so
I think
it's
the last time, let's see, with insurance, it's still expensive, like, in perspective. Um, but when there was a spell there where we didn't have insurance, just because of, like, COVID and movies and what have you. Um, I think when they asked me for I would say a month's supply of, like, Humalog or Novolog, it was $1,200, and that was just the short-term insulin. That wasn't even the long-term insulin, and I was like, excuse me?" And and my brain starts getting wild where I'm like, "Man, the fact that we're doing a Zoom call together, we have the privilege of owning these nice things that we are able to do these things on." And I think about the people in other countries or other places that don't have those luxuries, and I'm like, so you're telling me this family that's already in a rough spot's got to go and spend $1,200 for a month of insulin? Cool, gang. Good, you were doing really great. You know, I also don't
yeah,
think. I also don't believe that diabetes supply should be free either. Like, people have made that. People have worked to fill those vials. You know, um, but I think it is kind of wild how much it is for people to stay alive. Whew.
it's and two, well, first off, I appreciate you sharing that and being honest because I think people need to hear that especially it's very easy sometimes outside of living with diabetes to make some easier judgments. Oh, yeah, just I've had someone say, "Oh, type 1's so easy. You just, give a shot, eat." Or
Yeah,
"Yeah, of course there's gonna be a cure. It's right around the corner. We're gonna get these watches." I'm like, after so long, sometimes that note seems to deflate a little bit. I still find that keeping hope for it is a good thing, and I
I can
think
buy
that,
that. I 100% believe that as well. You know,
yeah, it's a I feel like to hope with and this could be outside of diabetes. I think hope for anything is what keeps a population moving forward. You have to stay
absolutely,
hopeful,
100%.
but I think it's also very, I think you make a phenomenal point. There is an industry behind diabetes. There's an industry behind medicine. There's an industry behind insurance.
100%. Well, when you turn on any of the TV shows that I've been on, they're either truck commercials or pharmaceutical commercials, you know? And it's like, all right,
And
okay.
maybe that's something that it's, the more open and honestly we talk about it, the more changes that can be made about it. But that's a totally fair point, and I feel like you and my sister would absolutely have a lot to share about
Well,
that
and
question
I think
particularly.
a big, you know, being an actor, you have to be delusional to some point, you know? But I
Mhm.
also don't like to live in a delusion either.
Yeah.
Um, I'm pretty realistic. I think diabetes just puts that on you to be realistic
Yeah.
in all things. Um, and you know, I think there is a cure out there, and maybe they found it, maybe they haven't, maybe they don't want to, maybe they do. I don't know. I just know that I don't have it.
Got it. But listen, if it's out there, we're giving it to you first,
But my
okay?
God, I want to be first
Done.
in line.
You're
This
number
is what
1
I'm
on
talking
the
about.
you're number 1 on the list.
Like I will be a test dummy Like, look,
I love it.
I know that the success rate on the whatever y'all are testing this on isn't great, but hey,
Sign
I'm
me up.
here. Like, let's go.
Sign me up.
I would love to be cured of diabetes. I often think that about genies. Like, if a genie was real, like, well, that would be one of my wishes. Is like, look, I wish to be diabetic free. Like, get it going.
I think that's a great wish. I think it's a great wish, and maybe it will. And maybe it will. You never know.
But I
We've
also mean
come
it
a
for
long way.
everybody because again, I hate this for anybody that's got diabetes. Like I
Yeah.
hate it for him. Like Nick Jonas, I'm like, golly, he just had some wild thing come out that he was like low on stage. This is like
Oh,
a month
really?
ago. Yeah. And
Oh,
he was like low on stage, and people are like, "What's wrong with Nick Jonas?" I don't know. And it's like, yo, he was going low,
blood
and,
sugar's
and
40,
still trying to
and it
perform.
feels
Like,
like
and I
shit.
was like, I know what that feels like. Like that's crazy.
Yes, yes, and it makes you feel it's like it's really hard to this is why I feel like stuff like us talking about this and even having an interview process, it's important to know there's a feeling, there's a person behind like an A1C, and it's so easy
Right.
just to kind of dismiss it. But okay, two more questions and we're done. All right.
Sorry.
This no, God, I love this. I
I
love this.
talk so much, dude.
I
I
could
could
talk
just
forever about this. I
yeah.
could too. The next one. This is a science question. I want you to define gluconeogenesis.
I don't even know what that
I'm
is.
just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I have had people pop that out like nothing, and that's totally a joke question. We don't need
Thank
to know
God.
that.
Like
We have tons of episodes on gluconeogenesis.
I mean, I was like, look, man, uh, I can hardly like. I think it's so funny because I'm so bad. I'm so bad with like terminology
I'm
or
totally kidding.
because people are like, "How did you get diabetes?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Like I don't know.
I don't know.
And I
You're
was like,
one and a
"There's
half.
theories." They're like, "Does your parents have diabetes?" I'm like, "Nope." Anybody else in your family have diabetes? I'm like, "Nope." Like, so I'm like, so all your genetic stuff is you get that out of here because I'm the first of my kind in my family. Um,
Yes.
and so when it comes down to science, I
I love it. I love it. To
all I
you
know
know,
is that I take 1 unit for every 10 grams of carbohydrates. Boom,
dude.
got
Okay,
it.
can I tell you this too? The 1 to 10 ratio is what I do too because it's easy to divide.
Absolutely, you don't have to think about anything. Now,
5. Oh, 55. So
I'm gonna get fired by some diabetes. Like they're gonna get mad at me for this, but sometimes I do a little bit more because I'm like,
ah,
It it could
well,
be between 12 units or 14, I don't know.
who wants
Uh,
to have a 1 to 7 carb ratio? You can't divide anything by
get
7.
out of
Just
here.
like
Yeah,
think about that in your
nobody
brain.
wants any of that
We
business.
need
I've already
really
got a
nice
calculator
even
to
numbers.
stay alive. I've already got all these gadgets and
Can I tell you
shots.
that I'm 1 to 10 as well because of that? I'm like, okay, I need an easy division. 10, 5. Okay, good, sweet. Okay, last question, last question. And you've kind of already touched on this. If you had to give advice or words of encouragement to someone living with diabetes, whether they're newly diagnosed or 37 years in, what's a piece of advice that you would give to them?
It's okay to be mad about it.
Yeah.
Like that, I think, how old was I? 15. I saw a psychologist, but I didn't know at the time that it was a diabetic psychologist. I didn't know because I was too young to kind of grasp what was going on. But her name was, gosh, I hope I don't get this wrong. Alexander. Her last name was Alexander, and she came in like Stevie Nicks, man, just like real cool, real, just like, "How are you, Linds?" And I was like, "I'm good." She goes, "No, how are you, Linds?" I was like, "I'm good." She goes, "You can say whatever you want to me about this. How do you feel about your diabetes right now?" And then I just would unload. And I
Yeah.
started to realize, and she told me, she goes, "It's okay to be mad about it." You know, I think so many people, I think there's a lot that people don't feel validated in any kind of anger at all. But you can be angry. It's okay. You can be mad about it. And I think that's important for young kids. It's okay that you feel weird, dude, because you are compared to everybody else in your classroom. It's
Yes.
okay, you know. And I think my parents did a really good job of allowing me to feel normal, even though it clearly wasn't. Um, I also think that's another thing is accept the fact that you're weird.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, don't deny it, don't hide it, because that only just makes it all worse. Like if I were to tell a young kid 6 to 14 or whatever just got diabetes, I'd be like, look, dude, it's awful. I wouldn't lie to him. Like,
Yeah.
awful. But you can survive it. You can live
Yeah.
through it. And you could be successful in all things, even with it, you know?
When it's also really nice to hear from you. You can be a professional actor with
Yeah.
this. I mean, like you can be in you can do your stunts in an action movie with
Got a
diabetes.
lot of those.
You're a living testament to say that yes, that's such a paradox. And I think so much of life as I've gotten older is how do you live within the paradox of, yes, this sucks. It's okay to be upset, and there's going to be times when you're angry, but you can also live with it and you can
Yeah.
do everything that you want to do, you can do. And that's very paradoxical of how do you live within both and kind of harvest both. And I think it's very healthy to have an experience and feel anger and not let the anger rule you, but to
100%.
understand that, hey, it does suck, and I feel too that it's almost, negligent or even too more detrimental in the long run to not experience or to at least say out loud, like, to a young person with diabetes, "This sucks. It's
Yeah.
hard. It is hard, it sucks, and you need to know that right now, and you
Well,
need to cry your eyes out whenever you need to."
when you got to think about anything else that's not diabetes that people try to fake or cover up or pretend that isn't real or whatever.
Like Botox and filler.
I mean, hey,
I'm just kidding, I'm
hey, to each
totally
their own. I've never done it. I've never done it, but maybe one of these days. I don't care. Um, no, I think there's a lot to be said about all that, and I think the first for me, I think the acknowledgement of knowing, like, all right, it's the reality that you live in, as opposed to this like it's like I can't see you, so you can't see me. Come on, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like if young kids know that, then it makes everything else easier. Like they don't have to feel like, well, it's already hard enough having good grades or trying to compete in any kind of athletics or compete in anything. It's already hard to do life. So what do you do in those situations? You acknowledge what it is, you get better at it, and I feel like diabetes should be the same way. Is like you acknowledge that it sucks, but you can survive and you can succeed. Done. Just acknowledge it though.
I think it's a beautiful way to end the show. That's a beautiful response to that from a beautiful man. Look at
Ah,
you. Oh my
get out of
God.
here.
And a
Get
beautiful wife too. For audience viewers, I went to school with Linds's wife, Ashley, who's also just stunning. She's a stunning human being. So, thank you. I want you to stay on the line afterwards, but we're going to clear out with the podcast. For those of you who've been listening or watching, thank you so much for tuning in to the Diabetes Tour Guide. Please tune into other episodes, click and subscribe, put in the comments and questions that you might have if you want us to add questions to the interviews, if you know someone who would like to be on the show. I want as many different viewpoints from diabetes and experiences so that we can kind of culminate this community of people who live with this. And I'm very thankful for you, Linds. Thank you so much
Oh,
for
thank
sharing and being
you
up. And
too,
this has
man.
really been amazing.
Absolutely.